Hello friend, welcome back to my garden. My name is Kimberly if you're new, and today I want to show you what's going on in this week's garden tour. So my garden is getting more and more empty as we're harvesting things, but there is hope. I have some new plants that have come. Let me show you some of the damage that's been happening. So in last week's tour, I showed you these two beds that I had replanted and explained that I have these sticks here in order to prevent dog damage. Well, we have quite a bit of damage. At first, I thought the dogs had been in here, but we have discovered that it's one of our chickens that's been flying over the fence and digging around. So the seeds that I planted in this end of the bed don't have a chance. Now, earlier we captured that chicken, that one chicken, and we clipped her wings. So in the past, I've heard of people clipping wings and I thought it sounded so horrible. But now that I've done it, I realize that it's a very painless process. It's a bit like trimming toenails. So the bird doesn't really feel anything, and you just clip a little bit of the wing tips on one side. It puts them off balance and makes it harder for them to fly. That might sound a little cruel to someone, but this bird is going to be much happier living in our area. We've got lots of space for them to roam. They don't need to be coming over the fence and into the garden and doing this kind of damage. If she continued to do that, we'd probably be doing away with her. But she can have a wonderful life there in the chicken yard with the other chickens. So I do have some seeds coming up. These radishes have come up really well. I think this is the carrots. I do know exactly what I planted in each bed. I'm not sure exactly in which order I planted them. Down here we've got some black beans coming up. I really want to grow a whole field of black beans at some point, but this is just a little trial. Some are looking better than others, but most of them have come up. Over here we've got some bok choy coming up and just some other seedlings. It's still a little early for me to tell on some of them what's a weed and what's a seedling. So we got to give that a little more time. But hopefully we've solved this problem and this won't happen again. This is the second time this week this has happened. Earlier this week I already fixed this bed. And the chicken also kicked a lot of this out of here. So down on this end, along this edge, I have this beautiful ground cover growing. And this really does a lot to help hold our soil in place when we get heavy rains. But you can see where the chicken, or possibly a dog, but I think it was the chicken, the one chicken that pulled a lot of this up. So it will probably grow back pretty fast. So in here we've got a lot of cabbages. Here's my pea experiment, and they're coming up a little spotty, but some definitely are coming up. I look forward to see how those perform. These cabbages are coming along nicely. We've harvested a lot of them, so we've got some bare ground. Something we did a lot of this week was harvesting and then preparing the beds for replanting. Like this bed here has been covered in fresh compost. It's all ready for the new plants. And I did receive the new plants, but they're not ready to plant yet. Something else I put in this week were these little bok choy plants. These were some volunteer bok choy that came up in the garden close to where I had grown bok choy before. And so some of them are looking better than others. These I actually put in pots and babied in the greenhouse. Some of these I just direct transplanted and then covered them, and they're not doing quite as well. But I think they're all going to survive. These carrots are looking great, and I have gotten in here and harvested a few of them. They're very small, but they are delicious, and so that's exciting. Now, you might wonder, why am I growing my own carrots? Because here in Ecuador, I can go to the market and I can buy quite a few carrots for just a single $1. But the varieties that they have here are short and fat compared to what I'm used to in Alaska, the long skinny carrots. Now there's nothing wrong with them. I like the carrots that I can buy at the market here. They're delicious. They work great. I was just curious to know if I could grow the long skinny variety here, and so I find that I absolutely can. Also, when I buy the bag of carrots for $1 here, I don't use them quickly enough. Some of them will go to waste, or I have to give them away to a neighbor or something. I usually only want just 1 or 2 carrots, and since these other ones are so short and fat, they really are a lot of carrot all at once. Just 1 or 2 of them is plenty for my purpose, and I come home with maybe 8 of them. So I like the idea of having my own carrots in my garden, ready for me to pick fresh when I want to use them, just the amount that I want to use. So I'm super happy to have these carrots. Coming down from the carrots, these zucchini plants are looking really good, and they're just starting to put on zucchini. So here we've got a lot of cauliflower, so much cauliflower. It's all going to be ready at once. I'll have lots of this to share. Probably some will go to the chickens and ducks, but a lot of it will be going to friends and neighbors. But it's going to leave this bed empty. Now this end has already been harvested. We had some broccoli in here, so a new layer of compost has gone in, and that's ready to plant as soon as the plants are ready. The same with this bed, or at least this half of the bed. It's all prepped, ready to go. We've got a lot of areas that are empty now, prepped, ready to go. We just need to have the plants ready to go in there. Happy to see that we have a little bit of broccoli almost ready to harvest. I'll be able to take some of that in a few days. More cauliflower over here. I have this cilantro going to seed. Now, I don't like cilantro myself. I don't enjoy eating it, but I do enjoy eating and cooking with coriander. So one thing I would like to do is let some of the seeds mature and then harvest them to grind into coriander. So I haven't done that yet. It's been on my to-do list, and I hope this time I can do it. I want to try it in just a small batch first and see how that works out. These onions are still looking pretty good, coming along. And then here we have the bean plants. Now these beans were planted 8 weeks ago, so they should really start producing very soon. Here's a few more volunteer bok choy. But we finally got around to providing some support for these beans. Now, in a perfect world, I would have planted all of my beans and peas all in one bed, things that need to climb, so that I can just have one of these support structures the length of a bed. But because of the space that was available when I wanted to plant, I've got some here and some in another bed over there. I'm still harvesting a lot from this spinach. I cut it back quite severely the other day. These zucchini plants, I'm amazed. They're still producing. Some of them, the ones that I've let stay in the ground, they're still producing a little bit. And this giant one that I'm letting go to seed hasn't changed much. It looks like it's starting to get a little bit yellow. So not too much going on in the garden, a lot of empty spaces. We do have this nice rhubarb. I harvested quite a lot of rhubarb from it not long ago, in the past week. Just trying to clean it up. This rhubarb plant's doing nicely. This dahlia's very much on its last leg. Now here we have our well, and I'm really happy that we have a well. We have well water, so even when municipal water levels are low, we still have water to water our garden. So that's really great. And then over here we have our pump house. This volunteer poppy is looking beautiful. So there's really not a whole lot to show in my main upper garden right now. A lot of empty spaces. So let me show you what I'm doing about that. So last week I ordered new seedlings from the company I work with called Pilvixa, and the plants were ready for pickup on Wednesday, and I went there and got them, potted them up, and then I had them in the garage for the first 3 days, and now I've moved them out here. So I've got some beets. These are some roses that a friend gave me, and they were trying to grow, so I put some rooting powder on them and wanted to see if I could get these roses to grow. So we'll see how that goes. But I've got some onion plants, some purple cabbage, some green cabbage, some broccoli, more zucchini, cauliflower, and then some romaine lettuce. So these plants will be able to fill the gaps that we've got going right now in the garden. And we need that. We need to breathe some new life into this garden. But I like to leave these plants, kind of hardening them off, protecting them from some of the heat of the day. I might bring them back into the garage again if needed. If the sun is really intense, if they're showing any sign of wilting, I'll want to bring them back into the garage to give them some protection. And I like to get them really well established, get the roots filling those little pots before I put them out into the garden, because once they're in the garden, they've got to face the heat of the day all day long. And these are my tender little seedlings. And I wasn't entirely sure how much difference it really made. I go to a lot of extra work to baby my seedlings, and I'm not sure that everyone else that purchases seedlings from Pilvixa does that. Some might just plant them right out in a big field. When I received all those extra cauliflower plants a few months ago and I put them out in a quickly constructed bed out in our pumpkin patch, they didn't get this TLC that my seedlings usually get. They were just planted out there, and I was able to do like a side-by-side comparison between what I grew my normal way with putting the seedlings in pots and what was grown just sticking them into the ground. So it made a really big difference. What I want to show you down here are these pumpkins. It's grown a lot since last week. This one great big one. There are other fruit on this plant, but this one pumpkin is really huge. More golden berries. Now down here I have all of this morning glory growing. Several colors, mostly this pink, but there's also this purple. Now, I absolutely love morning glories, but this is not where I want them to grow. They're growing along this fence too. This is not where I want morning glories to grow. But I have worked hard to get these morning glories established. I don't know how they came over to this side. I didn't plant them over here. I'll show you in a minute where I do want them to grow. The reason I'm letting these grow for now is because I want to collect the seed from them. Now we're on the other side of our lawn, close to the neighbor's property. These fruit trees you're seeing are the neighbors, and this is the fence where I want to grow my morning glories. I've tried and tried to achieve this goal for a long time. Many times I've planted morning glories and either the weather didn't cooperate, we had too much sun and they died, or we had too much rain and they were washed out, or the neighbors got sheep and the sheep were eating them. So different things, but I am getting a little bit of success here. I know I'm just stubborn enough. I know if I keep trying, eventually I'm going to get these to grow here. Along here is where we have our fruit trees too. We've got some more lemon trees, mandarin orange tree, peach, and here's one of our avocado trees. And we've had this one for several years and it's finally setting some fruit. We have this one very large avocado that's right down here on the ground. See If I can get in there. And it's flowering. And I can see it set some more fruit, some tiny little avocados right here starting to grow. So that really makes me happy. I'm seeing a lot of these tiny, tiny little avocados. They look like buds. This strawberry patch along the back side of our greenhouse is doing amazing. Wow, I see a really big strawberry in here. We have harvested so many strawberries. I need to make another batch of strawberry rhubarb jam. The other long side seems to have slowed in production, but this side is still going bonkers. I'll have to get out here and harvest some more. In last week's tour, I talked about this asparagus versus these tomato plants, and I think I'm going to be taking all the tomatoes out. In my recent plant order, I got in these tomato plants. Now, I actually had ordered some grafted tomato plants. For some reason, that's not what they sent me. I don't know why, but this is what I've got. And so this is what we're going to work with. This is just a regular round tomato. A lot has been happening in the chicken yard or duck yard, whatever you want to call it. Hey Larry, say hello.
Hello everybody.
Larry likes raking up some of this grass so the chickens can dig for bugs, and they love when he does that. So a lot has been happening out here with this chicken house. It's been kind of a slow process, but we've made a lot of progress this past week. We still need doors in it. But the nesting boxes were just built a couple days ago, and you can see they're already excited about using them. They approve. They are chicken approved nesting boxes. I've been keeping track of our egg production for the past 2 weeks. And the first week we got 31 eggs, and the second week we got 40 eggs. So it's on the rise. It might have something to do with how we're feeding the animals. They seem to be thriving. And look at there. A hen just jumped out of here, and she's gonna sing her song, her victory song about laying her egg.
Give us an egg?
She did. And there's an egg. I would love to just leave this egg for her and let her raise her young right here, but I know they're going to be disturbed with construction noises while this is still under construction. So it'll be a few days yet before we can leave the eggs and let them grow. This is still warm. So I'm just going to take that. We want to remove the eggs quickly, and I come out to check several times a day because sometimes birds will start eating eggs, maybe their own eggs or the eggs from other birds, and we don't want that to happen. So I have ordered on Amazon, and I have coming some fake eggs, some wooden eggs, and we'll put those in the nesting boxes so that any birds that might be inclined to try to peck at eggs to eat them will be discouraged from doing so. And that will help not only with our egg collection, the ones that we want for ourselves, but it will also help with the mothers that are trying to raise their young. So there you have it. That's what's going on in our garden this week. A lot of empty spaces, still not up to full production and won't be for some time. I've got so many new plants I need to put in the garden to get things back up and going. It's going to get worse before it gets better as we harvest what's mature and ready. And then we've got that big gap where I wasn't here to be planting things. So thank you for joining me, friend. If you enjoyed this video, you can look for other videos on my channel, Alaskans in the Andes, and we'll see you next week. Bye, friend.